Well, tonight's More Than the Score profiles the inspirational journey of Manchester's Joe Thompson and two special guys who've proven they're with Joe for the long run.
It's hard to be angry when you're running. It's almost like therapy. It's kind of zen-like. You can just kind of go running and there's nothing else that really is bothering you. But you can also think about things if you want to. If you run 10 miles, it's going to be really hard to be angry after that.
No one is happier after a run than Mike Ingram's running partner, Joe Thompson.
It is a lot of fun.
Joe was born with cerebral palsy. How much does he push you?
A lot. He loves to, kind of yell, and that's what I tell him to do. I'm like, I don't want you to be, oh, how's it going? How you feeling? I want you to, yell at me. That's what's going to push me.
It's a fun.
He's probably one of my best friends. Anytime I want to talk about something, we just have great conversations back and forth. Sometimes it's a little harder when you're running to really have intricate conversations.
I like that we.
It's never easy for Joe to have a conversation. He is fully cognitive, but so physically challenged that growing up in Manchester, he could only dream of playing in his backyard like all the other kids. But that never stopped him.
If there's something that he wants to do, regardless of how difficult it may seem, he's going to go for it.
Craig Struble was a paraprofessional who worked with Joe from kindergarten through his freshman year of high school. They're now close friends.
He made me realize that I could do a lot.
He never said, man, I can't do that because I have cerebral palsy. He never complained about having cerebral palsy.
Joe even plays music and writes songs.
And he's expressing himself through that music as well. Like if you read his lyrics, sometimes they're angry and sometimes they're happy, but it's a great way for him to be able to express himself.
Music and running, two forms of expression for Joe Thompson, who has so much to share, if you're willing to listen. Since meeting 2 years ago, Mike has understood Joe every step of the way. They've already run the Manchester Road Race, and now they're training for the Hartford Marathon.
It'd be great once in a while, like when I'm out of it and I'm not really paying attention. I'm just like, okay, I'll keep going.
There's no way to quit when you're with Joe.
Oh, no.
I will not give up until the day I pass away.
Joe Thompson's 23. He attends Manchester Community College, hoping to pursue a career in radio or audio production. And his former teacher, Craig Struble, is now a full-time musician in a band. If there was a vote for most unlikely kicker in the state, it might be Aaron Bellucci from West Hartford's Hall High School. This week's More Than the Score. Football at Hall High in West Hartford means players pushing, pads pounding.
You get there before the offensive lineman, it's over.
Purpose and pride. But once all of the heavy lifting ends, a game can be won or lost by a kick.
With soccer, you have a few kicks to get it right. With this, you have one.
That's pressure. But so is being the only girl on the Hall High football team.
I'm lucky because they kind of treat me like every other player, don't hit the kicker because you'll get a penalty.
Aaron Bellucci learned those rules a long time ago.
Since I was little in kindergarten, my what do you want to be when you grow up was always first girl in the NFL.
Aaron's uncle is former NFL head coach Eric Mangini, and her father, Harry Bellucci, is the longtime high school football coach at Hartford Public.
I've been surrounded by football my whole life, so it's kind of second nature. It was kind of meant to be almost.
Last fall, Aaron's dad teed up the idea of her kicking. Aaron practiced all spring, and after 3 years of playing soccer in high school, she made the football team as a senior. Aaron kicks extra points and field goals.
Honestly, of course, it's a little intimidating to go into 80 boys and not know. It's a new experience for them too.
Football is such a macho sport. To come in and be able to play with us it's kind of special that she could be able to do that.
And I'm really lucky to have such inclusive people, especially the coaches really have guided me through the whole process.
We definitely had a conversation about what were the expectations. As long as you're willing to commit, the way everyone else is, and it's a great thing.
And Aaron has tackled every challenge that football demands.
Because it's such a physical sport, you have to have the other person's back always. You put yourself into it and you just go for it, and it works.
So far, other teams haven't always realized that Hall's kicker is a girl until the game ends.
You hear, was that a girl? And it's like, yeah.
Aaron's goal, score points on the field and in the classroom.
Overall, being a great player is being a great person outside. You're always wearing the jersey.
And when Aaron's not jazzed up to kick,
oh yeah,
she's singing in the jazz club.
At last.
At last, Erin Bellucci plays the sport her family knows so well. And Aaron wants to make an extra point for girls.
If this is something you want to do, anything, whether it be kicking, football, or scared to try out for a show or anything, do it. Because you can really do anything if you put your mind to it.
Aaron is 1 for 1 on extra point tries in the young season. No field goal attempts yet. Her uncle Eric Mangini, now the defensive coordinator for the 49ers. And get this, Aaron's Hall team plays her father's Hartford Public team Saturday. Now, I asked Harry Bellucci, what if the game comes down to an extra point? He said, she's my kid. I want her to make it, take her helmet off, and point at me. Tonight, it's my honor to introduce you to one of the most inspirational people I've ever met. I was introduced to World War II hero Roy Rodriguez last month when the Southington man was awarded the Connecticut Masters Games Athlete of the Year. 90-year-old Roy Rodriguez, part of the greatest generation. Tonight's More Than the Score.
For heroic achievement in the action against the enemy,
Roy Rodriguez confronted that enemy in Germany. It was April of 1945.
the Nazis were doing things that were atrocious. We were in disbelief that they could kill women and children. We could not get to them fast enough.
Roy Rodriguez moved so fast into harm's way that he won a Purple Heart. His courageous story is preserved in a memorandum from the 71st Infantry Division.
A company officer lay mortally wounded in an open field. Disregarding personal safety, crawled over open terrain and under intense enemy machine gun and mortar fire, evacuate the wounded officer to a safe position where he would receive first aid. But the sad part was the captain was dead.
And Rodriguez was lucky to be alive.
When that machine gun started, wow! I got hit in the right leg above the ankle, and I could feel the blood flow. It was like a hydrant. And the designation from the Army was loss of use of right foot.
Rodriguez went home and settled in Plainville. He married, had 7 kids, started a taxi business, and then became a teacher and coach. But he lived with a permanent reminder of the war.
The doctor told me that I'm handicapped, and he made me believe it, but I wasn't handicapped. I just had to get up and take the damn thing off.
So one day in the mid-1960s, he took the advice of the track team he'd coached for many years at Amity High.
My team says, Coach, you're too hard-nosed to wear a brace. And I said, you know, you're right.
Rodriguez says without the brace, it took about 2 years to get the swelling under control so that he could run. He would hit his stride as a competitive runner much later in life, winning dozens of medals in senior track and field.
Oh, I was about 70. That's when I started running for real.
Now at age 90, after a stroke and a heart attack last year, he still wants to run and compete. And why do you run in your 90s?
Because there's really nothing better to do than to run. It's nice when you're 90 and you run like a kid. I will run as long as life is here and so long as God gives me the chance to be here.
An inspirational life that could have been lost in World War II.
There's no heroes. You just got some jobs that need to be done. The greatest privilege of our family is my 2 liters of blood for this country.
Something special runs in those 90-year-old veins. Rodriguez says we all have it. We just have to find it.
You're not going to find it unless you think positive and you build an attitude that develops into a spirit that cannot be broken.
And Roy Rodriguez estimates that he's won more than 100 medals in the 100, 200, 400 meters and more events. And with his doctor's wishes of keeping his pulse under 110, Mr. Rodriguez took part last weekend in the Connecticut Senior Olympics. He won the 50, the long jump, the triple jump, and the discus. If that doesn't make you want to go out and run, I don't know what will. Small gym in Manchester, you'll find a big-time young boxing prodigy. 17-year-old Mikey Williams won the Western New England Junior Welterweight 141-pound title in February, beating a pair of guys in their 20s. Mikey, who's a sophomore at Prince Tech in Hartford, has already racked up 43 wins. But Mikey's life is defined by overcoming loss.
He was made to do this. He was born to do it. There's pros out there right now that he'll beat. Up, 3, 4. Even when he was 10 and 12 years old, his drive was just unbelievable.
I've always been taught to hit without being hit.
East Hartford's Mike Williams was introduced to the ring when he was 8 years old by his Aunt Addie, who'd been a professional boxer. Mikey, as he's called, was a natural.
And when he sparred, he had kids quitting. He wasn't your average kid. He looked like he was just like mad. Keep it going, even after the bell, keep it going.
This aspiring world champ may have been mad at the world. Mikey's life began on the wrong side of the tracks. A week after he was born, his father was shot and killed in the streets of Hartford. And in 3rd grade, Mikey's home burned to the ground.
It was bad. Especially to see my mom cry and stuff like that. It was bad.
The loss of his home and his father drove Mikey to win, to beat every opponent and beat the streets.
For one, I don't want to end up going to prison or, possibly being killed myself.
Mikey hopes boxing will provide a better life for his mom, but he misses the father he never met. You wish he could see how well you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think he'd say to you?
How proud he is of me.
Same thing.
But Mikey's trainer, Paul Sean, helps fill that void. He says Paul is like a father to him. And for Paul,
he's like my son. It actually means everything to me.
Now this prodigal son of the Hartford area's rich boxing tradition dreams of someday adding his name to the sports list of greats. What's possible for Mikey?
Everything. I mean, the kid is going to be a world champion. There's no question about it. If he stays on the path he's on now, there's no doubt in my mind he is going to be a world champion.
And that was our debut of our new weekly series, More Than the Score. Mikey, who now lives in East Hartford, plans to turn pro next year when he turns 18. His trainer, Paul Sean, has worked with Mikey since he was 8. Paul is retired from the town of East Hartford and is a 2014 inductee into the Connecticut Boxing Hall of Fame. Who needs Pacquiao Mayweather? We have Mikey Williams.
And we need guys like Paul Sean, too.
Oh, he is unbelievable, and he wants to keep on being Mikey's trainer as Mikey turns pro, and I can see this marriage lasting a long time.